Hello YouTube. I had no intention of making a video about this because, to be honest, it's kind of silly, but I did make a tweet about it, and at the time of recording this video, the tweet has 236 retweets, which I think is the most I've ever had. That tells me that this story resonates with people. So, this is a story of how the internet is an awful, horrible, and disgusting place. It starts with a woman called Heather Antos, who is an editor at Marvel Comics. She posted a photo on Twitter of a bunch of female staff at Marvel enjoying milkshakes. Sounds harmless, right? Well, there is a growing number of comic book fans who have an issue with the social justice influence on the comics industry. The fact is that someone being a woman by no means makes them an SJW. But when you have a group of staff that is entirely made up of women, especially ones wearing large framed glasses, the odds of at least some of them being SJWs increases exponentially. So it's not really surprising to find that at least a few people responded negatively to this otherwise harmless tweet. Here's an example. So quick to judge, so little time for me to care. And Dark Gesture says, "You're right at Diversity in Comics. No life experience, the creepiest collection of stereotypical SJWs anyone could possibly imagine." You know, I actually agree with Heather here. Who knows what life experiences these ladies have? And I could easily think of much more stereotypical looking groups of SJWs. These could easily just be a group of normal, rational women. There's just no need to make that comment, Dark Jester. But he's not the only one. Look at this. Wow, the comments on this. Where do I even begin? And the Betchtoff says, "Gee, I can't imagine why Marvel's sales are in the toilet." So that in and of itself is not very nice, but let's look at the comments because that's what Heather points us to. So the first comment, "This picture is a little too white for me. Please don't bring race into it. There's no need for demagoguery. I'm Mexican and I don't need Mexican creators for me to enjoy something. I thought Marvel was promoting diversity. Nothing wrong with that. But all I see is white people here. Race is inconsequential as long as the positions are won by merit. Meritocracy over diversity quotas any day." I think you misread my whole tweet. Sarcasm and jokes in general never do translate properly via social media. Sorry, I didn't catch it. Okay, so this is someone making fun of diversity quotas and the fact that the tweet is all white people, although there was one non-white person, but we'll just ignore that. Okay, next one. "I would totally bang the girl in front. Better have her sign a consent form. She looks like the false rape charge type." Okay, so one person expressing crudely that he thinks the girl in front is attractive, and the other person making a joke about him assuming that she's the kind of social justice type person who might make false rape charges. Okay, next one. "So this is why half the art looks like bad Tumblr webcomic now." Okay, so he's commenting about the fact that it's young women, the kind of people who go on Tumblr that are in the photo. Okay, I don't see a huge problem with that. Next up, "Only 90s kids remember this episode." And of course we have this picture of the Huffington Post editors meeting, which is entirely women, and I think entirely white women too, which does say a lot about Huffington Post. And of course is related to this picture because it's a picture of all women, so I can see the connection. I don't see a problem with that either. Okay, and then next one. "Lol, my milkshake is better than hers. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Then her milkshake brings all the readers to DC. Nice. Too good not to do it." Okay, yeah, come on, there's nothing horrible about that. So where's the horrible comments here? Where's the really bad stuff? Because the way Heather portrayed it, there's like really bad stuff in the comments here, but like for the internet, this is pretty tame. But overall, I can see that this seems like the kind of people who assume, with genuinely probably good reason, that this group of women likely has a high concentration of SJWs. But Heather goes on. "Sexist much?" And Roman's Burning says, "Why do comics suck so hard these days?" And then with a link to the picture of the girls having milkshakes. Okay, so I sort of get it. She's assuming Rome is Burning thinks comics suck because women are involved in making them. Now, that may be true, but I think it's much more likely that the issue isn't with women, but with women who are obsessed with social justice and identity politics. Women whose only agenda is to make great comics likely wouldn't bother anyone. But yeah, I can see why Heather would assume this is sexist. How dare I post a picture of my friends on the internet without expecting to be bullied, insulted, harassed, and targeted? Okay, I'm not inside her head and I haven't experienced what she has, but unless there are some much worse tweets or messages being sent her way, I fail to see how she's being bullied, harassed, or targeted. Insulted, sure, but those other three? If there were examples of that, why didn't she retweet that instead of the rather mild comment she did retweet? I suspect this tweet is a slight exaggeration. Woke up today to a slew of more garbage tweets and DMs for being a woman in comics who posted a selfie of her friends getting milkshakes. Again, I can see why Heather would think this, but I don't think that's the reason. It's social justice warriors people are concerned about, not women in general. Well, I don't doubt that there are some genuine sexists out there too. I don't think they make up the majority of the people who messaged or tweeted at Heather. And in case you're wondering, yeah, Heather does seem rather social justice oriented. Yep, she thinks jokes become harassment when she doesn't approve of the topic of the joke. This is despite the fact that things are often funny because they're taboo or absurd. She's involved in identity politics to the point where she considers it a virtue to not be able to take a joke. That's pretty bad. Anyway, so this is the end of the story. A woman posts an innocuous picture online and at least half a dozen people are mean to her. That's it. That's the end, right? Well, no. Instead, grammatically incorrect hashtag spawned where hundreds of people post pictures of themselves drinking milkshakes in support of Heather and women in comics in general. If you check the tweets that were mean to Heather, most of the responses are now in support of her or attacking the person who made the tweet. On top of this, the hashtag spawned a minimum of 6 online news articles about the event. All of them are running with the narrative that Heather is being harassed and bullied. Heck, even DC came out in support of this Marvel writer. But the fact is, even if we assume that she got a bunch of terrible tweets and messages that we haven't seen, the positive responses have certainly been exponentially greater than the negative ones. So is the story really that the internet is an awful, horrible, and disgusting place? No. The story is that if you're a woman online and you've got a big enough following, all you need to do is claim that you're being bullied, insulted, harassed, and targeted, and people will come out of the woodwork to support you, including any number of online journalists and bloggers. To me, that says being a woman online is pretty freaking amazing. And to be honest, this just sounds like an extension of the real world. Yeah, women sometimes have to deal with genuine sexism and all sorts of horrible things, but if they're at all popular, all they have to do is complain, and they'll get support that absolutely dwarfs the negative attention they've received. I'm not claiming that women don't have genuine issues, but this case does point to one of the definite advantages of being a woman in a Western society. Because we all know if this had been a man in this exact same situation, the support he received would be significantly less. If he got any at all, of course. The good thing for men is that this knowledge that we're unlikely to get support has forced most of us to toughen up and learn to take insults and abuse without letting it bother us too much. Many women, and Heather apparently among them, have never needed to learn this lesson. So in the end, this is a good story, if you're a woman. The negative thing is how this has turned into a narrative based on a false assumption, and that as a result, the real issues are even less likely to ever get resolved. But no. Let's be positive. Being a woman online is awesome. Hooray! Well, I'm positive improvement, and I wish you all the best.